Alright. Well, shalom everyone. This is August Rosado with Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries. We want to thank you so much for tuning in on this Friday morning. And it's hard to believe that the weekend is here. And hope that you guys had a wonderful week and pray that you enjoy the weekend. And so I'm hoping that we've worked out pretty much all the kinks from this live stream. So we'll see how it goes. So let's see here. I'm just trying to, I'm not seeing myself coming up on the screen. All I see is a blank screen. So I don't know what is going on with that. And so, again, I really like this new system on the stream title, but for some reason, I'm not seeing myself at all, so I'm going to just see if I can do it again, and, there we are. We are here, and can't hear myself, though. Can you hear me?
I don't know if the line goes.
I mean, I got my volume up on this, and it's telling me that I have volume on here, but yes, you can. Okay, I don't know. This thing is just, I'm just trying to work all the kinks out of this streaming. And what I'm doing this morning is I have a my blue ball microphone. And, you know, that's what I am using right here. I don't know if you can see that right there. It's blue ball microphone. And hopefully with this blue ball mic, you know, I could, you know, be more amplified, that all of you out there would be able to hear me a whole lot better. And so my wife is monitoring over here right now. Let me know, Pat, if you continue to hear me a little bit anyway.
Well, I have mine.
And so, because for some reason I'm not hearing myself. Oh, there we go. All right, we're right there. So again, I just want to make sure that I get all, you know, the kinks out of this, and so we appreciate that. And let me just quickly say hello to all of you that are watching right now. Of course, you know, I see Janice Waterberger from the left coast of California is with us, and I noticed Robin Frazier, William Manus, and Johnny Terrell, and so hopefully you guys get to hear me a little bit better anyway, and so, you know, we'll just see how it goes, guys. You know, hopefully the more I work with this stream title, you know, the better that it's going to be. And so you might hear a little bit of, you know, tunneling, maybe a little bit of overlapping, you know, something to that effect. So, but other than that, you know, it's great to be here with you. I am excited about teaching this message on the miracle of Hebrew. So, on today's program, we're going to be talking about the miracle of Hebrew and even teaching you a little Hebrew. Hebrew is one of the most beautiful languages on the face of the earth. You know, some would even go as far as to say that prior to the diversity of languages at the Tower of Babel in Genesis chapter 11, that at that point the whole world was speaking Hebrew until man rebelled at the Tower of Babel and God confounded them with the language. Now, I can't be dogmatic about that. That's just something I heard someone say some time ago. But other than that, Hebrew was the language spoken by our Lord. Hebrew was the language spoken by his Talmudim. Talmudim is Hebrew for the disciples. It was the language spoken by Paul the Apostle. It's the language of the Jewish people today. A language that was dead for almost 2 millennia. and then miraculously has been revived. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a fluke. That is not some freak of nature or some type of accident in history. That was prophecy. That was fulfilled. And one of the Jewish prophets prophesied about this prophecy, and God used a Polish Jew to get the ball rolling on that prophecy. So you're going to want to stay tuned. You're going to want to get your Bible. You might want to take notes and practice some of the Hebrew words that I'm going to be showing you today. You know, I have Hebrew apps, and I learn a couple of Hebrew words every single day. When I'm reading my Bible, I come across a certain word in my Bible, I'll look it up in the Hebrew on my app, my Hebrew app translation, and I'll get to know what that Hebrew word is, and I'll memorize that Hebrew word. A Hebrew is a beautiful, beautiful language. And I believe it will be the language that you and I are going to be speaking in heaven one day. But I do know this dogmatically. It is going to be the language of the kingdom to come. That I can prove to you from the Word of God. So, again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Great to see Doug Hinckley with us. Anthony Parker is with us today. And so, again, I just want to thank all of you guys for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on this Friday morning. So, before we begin, I know that, yesterday I gave an offer to you about my book, The Kingdom Now or Future. And, of course, that book sells for $10 plus $2 shipping and handling. I'll autograph that book for you. And with your order, I will throw in a CD offer of one of my messages that I just recently preached in West Virginia concerning a major development in light of biblical prophecy. And so I would love to have you order that book, because we have a lot of misconception and a lot of false teaching concerning the kingdom. We got those that are saying we're in the kingdom now. Jesus is reigning on David's throne now. He's reigning over the nations of the world. He's already come back. He's come back in our heart the moment we got saved. A lot of nonsense out there concerning the kingdom. Jesus never prayed in Matthew 6:10, thy kingdom now. He prayed, thy kingdom come, which is future tense. Many songs today like majesty, worship his majesty. Jesus who died, now present tense, glorified, King of kings. He's not King of kings right now, folks. He will not be King of kings until his second coming back to this earth at the end of the 7-year period of tribulation. Jesus is a king in waiting, but he's not King of kings now, and we're definitely not in the kingdom right now. That's what I talk about in my book, The Kingdom Now or Future. Order that book for $10 plus $2 shipping and handling. But the offer that I want to present to you today is an offer of the Talit, the prayer shawl. And of course, you can order this Talit for $35 plus $5 shipping and handling. And you can see it's a beautiful Talit. And on the front is the Messianic seal of the Jerusalem church. You can see on the front there's a 7-branch menorah, Exodus chapter number 25. On the bottom is the ichthys, that would be the fish symbol representing Christianity. The base of the menorah with the tail of the fish intermingled form the Star of David, to show that the church has been grafted into the house of Israel. That's right out of Romans chapter 11 and verse number 17. This is a beautiful prayer shawl. Jews have been wearing this for 3,500 years. And when you go to the Kotel, the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, you see Jews wearing the prayer shawl. Jesus, Yeshua, as a Jew, wore the prayer shawl. That's not tradition, ladies and gentlemen. The prayer shawl is biblical. It comes from Numbers chapter 15, verses 37 through 40. So I would love to have you order the prayer shawl. Go to our bookstore on my website. You can order this by going to our website at todayinbibleprophecy.org. And while you are there, go to the bookstore, hit on Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries bookstore, and you'll be able to order the prayer shawl or the tallit. Just hit the PayPal button, fill in your information, and we will make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you get this prayer shawl. Once again, if you order the prayer shawl from us, I will still include that CD message of a recent article that I just talked about, of a major development that you need to hear. Order the prayer shawl, we will throw in the CD as our way of saying Todah. I told you we're going to learn Hebrew today. Todah, T-O-D-A-H, means thanks, or Todah Rabbah, which is thank you very much. So go to my website, todayinbibleprophecy.org, and you'll see the navigation there, and click on Today in Bible Prophecy Ministry Store, and you'll be able to order that item. Or you can place your order through snail mail, and you can do that by going to the ministry address. Just go to Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries, 55 Pleasant Street, Apartment 2, Lincoln, Rhode Island, 02865. You can send your order with check or money order and mail it to the address right here. Again, that's Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries, 55 Pleasant Street, Apartment 2, Lincoln, Rhode Island, 02865. Once we receive your order, we will make sure that your order goes right out to you, whether you order our book, The Kingdom, Now or Future, or if you order the prayer shawl. So I hope and pray that you take advantage of that. Whichever order you put in, we will make sure that we put the CD in there. And when you have an opportunity, while you're at my website, I want you to participate in our Bible prophecy poll question. The question that you can see on the screen right now is what we have on our website. And the question is simply this. Daniel's 70th week of prophecy talks about a period of 7 years of tribulation to come upon Israel and the world. Do you believe the Antichrist, who comes from the revived Roman Empire, will confirm a treaty with Israel based on Daniel chapter 9 and verse number 27? That is our prophecy poll question for this week. This would be your last day to answer that poll question. Daniel's 70th week of prophecy talks about a period of 7 years of tribulation to come upon Israel and the world. Do you believe the Antichrist, who comes from the revived Roman Empire, will confirm a treaty with Israel based on Daniel 9 and verse 27? That is our prophecy poll participation question of the week. Today is the last day that you can answer that question. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can answer that question by going to my website at todayinbibleprophecy.org. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you will see the poll question on the left. And you can click your multiple choice answer of either yes, no, maybe, not sure. So you'll have an opportunity to answer that question, and your final opportunity would be today. So I hope and pray that you would take advantage of that and answer our prophecy poll question. So, what I want to do right now is get into the message that we have for today. And folks, that is the miracle of Hebrew. The miracle of the Hebrew language. And as I said, folks, there is nothing in the world like the Hebrew language. It is a language like no other language in the world. And I want to direct your attention to a prophecy that we find in Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse number 9. The miracle of the Hebrew language. In Zephaniah chapter 3 and in verse number 9 it says this: For then will I turn to the people a pure language. You might want to highlight that phrase, pure language. That they may call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. Hebrew was considered at one time a lost biblical language. A lost language that has been dead for 2 millennia, for nearly 2,000 years. Many believe as a language, Hebrew was gone forever, never to be spoken on the lips of a Jew again. When the Romans devastated Jerusalem and sacked the temple in 70 AD, the Jews were scattered to the four corners of the earth, as prophesied by Moses in Deuteronomy chapter number 28. And based on Deuteronomy chapter number 28, Jews wandered from nation to nation, being persecuted and killed by hostile Gentiles. And they assimilated into other countries and ceased speaking the Hebrew language. The Hebrew language became a dead tongue. The miracle that we see here is that Hebrew has been revived, ladies and gentlemen. Hebrew has been revived. And again, that wasn't by accident. That wasn't by some type of freak of nature. Hebrew has been revived, and that was prophecy that unfolded right before our very eyes. Hebrew has been revived. It is alive and well after 2,000 years. Today, Hebrew in Israel is the official language of the Jewish state. Every Jewish man, woman, boy, and girl speaks Hebrew. Now, when I say Jewish, I would say Yehudim. That's how you say Jewish in Hebrew, Yehudim. Man, Ish, I-S-H. Woman, Isha, I-S-H-A. Boy, Yelda, Y-E-L-D-A. And girl, Yeladim. And so, every man, woman, boy, and girl in Israel today speaks the revived language. They all speak Hebrew. Now, of course, looking at the screen right here, when they say the word Hebrew, we say Ivrit. You read Hebrew from right to left, and you can see the Hebrew letters Ayin, Vav, Resh, Yod, and Tav. The numerical value for all those letters combined is 686. Every Hebrew letter has a numerical value to it. So, how do you say Hebrew in Hebrew? Well, you're looking at it on the screen right there. It is Ivrit. I-V-R-I-T. Ivrit. Ivrit is Hebrew for Hebrew. And Zephaniah talks about a time when that would be revived. Now, another Hebrew word that I would like us to look at today. Zephaniah talks
time when the Hebrew language will be restored. The Jewish prophet calls it a pure language. Remember I told you to highlight that? He calls it a pure language. The Hebrew word for pure is ta'or. Ta'or. Now this comes from Strong's Concordance 2889. Ta'or means clean or pure. Ta'or means clean or purity. Why? Because Hebrew is a pure language and there are no type of cuss words whatsoever in the ancient Hebrew language. Now, if you hear an Israeli cussing in Israel today, well, that means that they're probably speaking the English language or they're probably speaking the Arab language. But you can never, ever find any type of cuss words whatsoever in the Hebrew language. God would make a promise to the Jewish prophet Zephaniah that he would restore the pure language. He would restore the pure language
back to the Jewish people. They would speak the pure language as the Jews would begin to make Aliyah back into the land of Israel. Since 1897, Jews have been making Aliyah back to the land of the Bible. Jews have been making Aliyah back to the land of Israel. Again, I told you we're going to be learning some Hebrew here today. And so what we're going to do is show you another Hebrew word. And again, folks, write this stuff down and check it out, amen? So that way you can learn this heavenly language. So, since 1897,
Jews have been making their way back to Israel. They've been making Aliyah. Aliyah is a Hebrew term that simply means to go up. It simply means to ascend. Jews would do this in ancient biblical times. They would make Aliyah 3 times a year to Jerusalem for the 3 main Jewish feasts of Pesach, that's Passover, Shavuot, that would be Feast of Weeks, or in the Greek, Pentecost, and Sukkot, which is Hebrew, for tabernacles. So Jews would go up to Jerusalem and make Aliyah 3 times a year. Again, looking at the Hebrew word Aliyah on your screen, you read Hebrew right to left. You see the first letter Ayin, Lamed, Yod, and Hey. With a combination of those 4 Hebrew letters, Ayin, Lamed, Yod, and Hey, we have Aliyah. Aliyah means to go up. Aliyah means to ascend. Remember, Jesus said we go up to Jerusalem because Jerusalem is 2,700 feet above sea level. The sea level of the Mediterranean Sea. And so Jerusalem is on a mountain. So you literally go up. You make aliyah to Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at on the wall 2 of our pilgrim certificates right here. It has my name on it. It has my wife Patty's name on it. And the government of the state of Israel would recognize Patty and I as Jerusalem, as Christian pilgrims who made aliyah to Jerusalem. We made aliyah to the land of Israel. And ladies and gentlemen, Jews have been doing this, as I said, since 1897. As the Jewish people would come from the 4 corners of the earth. They would come out of the nations that they have been scattered to. And they would come out of the nations that they assimilated to.
And they would make their way back to the land of Eretz Israel. Eretz Israel in Hebrew would simply mean the land of Israel. Jews have been doing this since the early Zionist movement under Theodore Herzl. Making aliyah, and they're still doing it today, making aliyah back to the land of Israel. Why? God made promises, ladies and gentlemen, and God is going to keep his promises. Now remember what I told you at the beginning of the show, that God would use one man who would single-handedly revive the Hebrew language. This man was opposed by the rabbis. This man was opposed by his fellow Jews, who looked at him and said, "You are nuts. You need help. You are crazy. We will never use the precious holy language, the biblical language of Hebrew, as modern day talk on the street. We will only use the biblical language of Hebrew when we worship on the Shabbat. Shabbat is Hebrew for the Sabbath. We'll only use Ivrit, Hebrew, on the Shabbat, on the Sabbath, when we are worshiping in the synagogue." But God used one man, ladies and gentlemen, one man, to single-handedly revive the Hebrew language. Despite the pressure and even being thrown in jail by the Ottoman Turkish police,
on the request of rabbis, to try to shut this guy up. But this man would remain faithful against all odds to revive a 2,000-year-old language. And ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about a man by the name of Eliezer ben Yehuda. Eliezer ben Yehuda, single-handedly, despite overwhelming odds, despite the persecution, despite being thrown in jail, even threats of death, despite the pressure, he remained faithful, and against all odds, after 2,000 years, he revived the ancient biblical Hebrew language. I mean, folks, you want to talk about somebody who is faithful. You want to talk about somebody who, believe it or not, as a secular Jew, he wasn't really religious, per se. As a secular Jew, he believed in the prophecy. As a secular Jew, he believed in the promises of God that he made to the Jewish prophet Zephaniah, that one day the Hebrew language would be revived. The rabbis, who were supposed to be so-called learners and scholars of the scriptures, weren't even familiar with this prophecy in Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse number 9.
They were the ones that were religious. They're the ones that supposed to know the scriptures. But yet they said, we will never use Hebrew as the daily language in the streets of Jerusalem. We'll use Yiddish. The closest we can do is talk Yiddish, which is a combination of Russian and Hebrew and so on and so forth, but we will not use the Hebrew language. We're only going to use that as the language of the synagogue, and that's it. Not for everyday talk and everyday life in Israel. But could you say that to Eliezer ben Yehuda? Absolutely not. He believed that one day God would keep his promises, probably not even knowing that God would use him
to revive the Hebrew language. A Polish Jew single-handedly revived the Hebrew language. Now, his original name was Yitzhak Perlman. That was his original name. Yitzhak Perlman, who was born in Poland. He was born on January 7th, 1858, and he died from tuberculosis on December 16th, 1922. He was so in love with the Holy Land. He was so in love with the Hebrew language that he wanted to leave Poland. He wanted to leave Europe. And he wanted to go back to the land of his ancient biblical forefathers. He was so obsessed with that he even changed his name. He changed his name from Yitzhak Perlman to Ben Yehuda. Ben Yehuda was known as the driving force behind the revival of the Hebrew language. And he loved the Holy Land, the land of the Bible. And he loved the Hebrew language so much, he changed his name to Ben Yehuda. Why did he do this? Well, again, we're going to be learning some Hebrew today. You look at your screen right here. You look at the word Ben. If you were to say son in Hebrew, you would say Ben. You would use the Hebrew letters Beit and Nun. Beit is the first letter to the right. Nun is the second letter to the left. So you would say Ben. That's Hebrew for son. Then he changed his last name to Yehuda. Now, what does Yehuda mean? Ben Yehuda. Ben Yehuda simply means in Hebrew, son of Judah. You have son of Judah. He wanted to be known as the son of Judah. So again, looking at Hebrew, you would say Ben, which is Hebrew for son, and then you would say Yehuda. Now, how do you say Judah? You would say Yehuda. That's where we also get the word Jew. You remember what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, when talking to the United Nations, he says, why does the world call us Jews? The reason why you call us Jews is because we are from Yahudiya. We are from Judea. Yahudi, that would be Jew. Yahudiya, Judea. So Ben Yehuda wanted to call himself Ben, son, and Yahudi, Judah. He wanted to be known as a son of Judah. And he wanted to single-handedly, ladies and gentlemen, revive the ancient holy tongue. He wanted to single-handedly revive the ancient Hebrew language. Because again, he believed in the prophecy that God gave to the Jewish prophet Zephaniah, writing some 2,600 years ago.
In Zephaniah chapter 3 and in verse number 9. The rabbis were ignorant to this, but not this secular Polish Jew. Yitzhak Perlman, who later changed his name to Eliezer ben Yehuda. Eliezer was an ancient Jewish zealot who 2,000 years ago led a rebellion against the Roman army there at Masada. He was the leader of that group. Eliezer ben Yehuda wanted to be that leader, and so therefore he probably no doubt had Eleazar's name in mind, the leader of the the Jewish zealots at Masada 2,000 years ago, changed his name from Yitzhak, which by the way, Yitzhak is Hebrew for Isaac. Yitzhak means laughter. If you remember, Sarah laughed because she said you were going to have, God said a son was going to be born to her, and that son would be laughter. Yitzhak, that would be Isaac. So he changed his name from Yitzhak to Eliezer, probably in honor of Eleazar there at Masada 2,000 years ago. And then Ben, Hebrew for son, and Yehuda, Judah. So he would be known as Eliezer, son of Judah. In 1881, Ben Yehuda immigrated to the Holy Land, which was then ruled by the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Turks, and the land was just barren, and it was a mess under the rule and the occupation of the Ottoman Turks. He settled in Jerusalem. Ben Yehuda regarded Hebrew and Zionism as synonymous, symbiotic, if you will. He said this: the Hebrew language can live only if we revive the nation and return it to the fatherland, to the land of our forefathers. You want to know what's interesting? Ben Yehuda had a son. He raised his son and named him Ben Zion ben Yehuda. Ben Zion ben Yehuda. In other words, he named him son of Zion, son of Judah. That's what Ben Zion ben Yehuda means in Hebrew. The first name meaning son of Zion, entirely through Hebrew. He refused, Eliezer ben Yehuda, he refused to let his son be exposed to any other foreign language during his childhood. Ben Yehuda would not even allow any other language to be spoken in his house other than Hebrew. Folks, he even yelled at his wife one time after he caught her singing a Russian lullaby to their child. Eliezer ben Yehuda's son, Ben Zion, would be the first native speaker of modern Hebrew as the mother tongue. How would you feel knowing that you were the first fulfillment of that prophecy in Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse number 9? Amazing. He would not allow any other language spoken in their home other than Hebrew. Now, if you tried speaking another language in his home, whether it was English, Russian, whatever, Arabic, he'd throw you right out. It would only be Hebrew. December 16, 1922, at 64 years old, Ben Yehuda died of tuberculosis. And his funeral was attended by over 30,000 people. That's a lot of people, folks. By over 30,000 people. If you were to go to Jerusalem today,
and you go to Ethiopia Street, you could still see the home where Ben Yehuda and his family lived. It is still there today. I have, out of all my times that I have been to Israel, I have never been to the house of Eliezer ben Yehuda. But I am going to put that on my bucket list when I am there in Israel. And maybe even do a Bible prophecy teaching program right there
from the home of Eliezer ben Yehuda, the father of modern day Hebrew, the reviver of the ancient Hebrew language. God would use that man, ladies and gentlemen, to revive the Hebrew language. Again, that wasn't a mistake. That wasn't some That wasn't some fluke of history. That was Bible prophecy that unfolded right before your very eyes. This man was so well loved and respected afterwards that over 30,000 people attended his funeral. And his house still stands today. Well, again, you know me, folks. You know, I always say I'll lead a new story of the day, and I always give my prophetic perspective on that news story. And one of them that caught my eye came
from the Times of Israel. The Times of Israel reported about a quest documenting the miracle of the Hebrew language. Again, this came from the Times of Israel website. Epic Quest is documenting the miracle of the Hebrew language. In that article, researchers are painstakingly building a lexicon of every word in the ancient Hebrew tongue through its modern incarnation. And this was a story that was broken by the Times of Israel. And yet, they're calling this, ladies and gentlemen, the epic quest in documenting the miracle of the Hebrew language. And, ladies and gentlemen, this is coming from a secular Times of Israel website. They're calling
the revival of Hebrew a miracle. Now, we know that miracle is, that the Hebrew language is a miracle. And that's exactly what they're speaking in Israel today. The man who is leading this is Gabriel Birnbaum. He's 66 years old. And he is a senior researcher helping to document and define every Hebrew word ever. From ancient texts such as the Dead Sea Scrolls to the contemporary novels of Israeli literary figures like Amos Oz. But they said it will also act as an anchor for Hebrew, the ancient language revived in spoken form in the 19th century. After some 1900 years, work completed so far is already available to the public online. Earlier incarnations of the Hebrew language were spoken by Jewish communities in the ancient land of Israel. Even as the Jews were forced into exile, Hebrew as a spoken language began to fade, according to the article, though it remained in use through written form in the synagogue. After some 1900 years, according to this article, it was revived in the late 19th century as a part of the push by Zionist Jews to resettle in the lands from where their ancestors fled, the land of Israel. It is now an official language of Israel, and it is considered history's sole example of such a dramatic revival. Again, that's Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9. According to Birnbaum, he says, it's a miracle. He is a father of 5 who moved to Israel from Hungary when he was only 6 years old. And you know what's interesting? He still owns some of Eliezer ben Yehuda's furniture. It's amazing that this guy owns some of the stuff that was once owned by Eliezer ben Yehuda, that you can still see
today. He points out to some of the furniture that was once owned by Eliezer ben Yehuda. He points to a desk that was once owned by Eliezer ben Yehuda. And he even points out a plaque in the room where Ben Yehuda's furniture is displayed and which once hung above his desk. And you can see on the wall in the background a picture of Eliezer ben Yehuda, the one, ladies and gentlemen, that God would use to revive the ancient biblical Hebrew language. Well, you know, in the future,
according to Bible prophecy, in the millennial kingdom, we're talking about the theocratic kingdom to come. As I said already, we're not in that kingdom now. The kingdom is yet to come. The theocratic kingdom of Jesus, the Jewish Messiah. According to Bible prophecy, a highway will come from Egypt through Israel to Assyria. Assyria today would be northern Iraq, where Mosul is today. All that fighting between ISIS and Iraqi forces are there in Mosul. Where from Egypt all the way to northern Iraq, and all the nations of the world for that matter, will one day come to Jerusalem. And we see in Isaiah chapter 19, verses 23 through 25, and I'm going to go ahead and read that. If you have your Bibles, you can come along with me to Isaiah. Yeshayahu Hanavi, that's how you say Isaiah the prophet in Hebrew. Yeshayahu Hanavi. Isaiah chapter number 19, and looking at verse number 23, says this. It says, in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Lord of hosts, and by the way, Lord of hosts in Hebrew is Adonai Sabaoth. Adonai Sabaoth. The Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, mine inheritance. So, folks, we see that one day the people of Egypt, the people of Assyria, modern day Iraq, northern Iraq anyway, will one day, according to this prophecy, will one day speak the land of Canaan. What is the speech, the language of the land of Canaan today? Well, Canaan today is modern day Israel. And their language today is Ibrit. It's Hebrew. And you know something? Egypt, Assyria, northern Iraq today, all the nations that come to Jerusalem for the inauguration of the millennial kingdom will speak the language of Canaan. Ladies and gentlemen, they will speak the language of Israel. And yet verse 24 says, in that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Israel, even a blessing in the midst of the land. The epicenter of blessings during the millennial kingdom will be Israel. Israel will be the head of the nations and not the tail of the nations as she is right now. Messiah's headquarters will be right there in Jerusalem. That's Hebrew for Jerusalem. That's why they call Jerusalem. Jerusalem, the city of gold. They sing that song. I love when they sing this song in Israel in Hebrew. Jerusalem, city of gold. Yerushalayim shel zahav v'shel choshev v'she'or halo lekol shi'ari ani kinor. Jerusalem, city of gold, let me be a violin unto all your songs. The epicenter of blessings during the millennial kingdom will be Israel. The headquarters within the center of Israel will be Jerusalem, will be the city of Jerusalem. And all the individuals who will come, and when you read Isaiah 19, you will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times it uses the phrase, in that day, in that day, in that day, in that day. He says, in that day, verse 18, in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. That's Israel today. Canaan is modern day Israel today. Their language is Hebrew. And swear to the Lord of hosts. And one shall be called the city of destruction. After Egypt is destroyed, when they come up against Israel in Daniel 11:40, they will convert to the God of the Jews. An Arab nation will convert to the God of Israel. Northern Iraq, ancient Assyria, will convert to the God of Israel. And these Arabs will speak the language of the Jews. All the nations that come into Israel will speak the language of Israel. So Isaiah 19:23-25 tells us the inhabitants of those lands, Arabs, will speak the language of Canaan. That's Israel today. They, along with the redeemed of the kingdom, will speak Hebrew. Hebrew will be the official language of the kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, Zephaniah's prophecy concerning the revival of the Hebrew language, which began in the late 19th century with one Jewish man from Poland, Eliezer ben Yehuda, a man used by God to fulfill Zephaniah's prophecy. As I conclude, in the future, the revival of the Hebrew language will one day go global in the Davidic kingdom, with all nations coming to Jerusalem to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. That's a Jewish feast. That's not a Gentile holiday like Easter or Christmas, which is unbiblical. I don't have nothing against Christmas. I love Christmas time, don't get me wrong. But we're going to be celebrating Jewish feasts in the kingdom. One of them is the Feast of Tabernacles. That's Zephaniah chapter 14 and verse number 16. All the nations that come in will speak Hebrew. So get used to learning some Hebrew right now. Ladies and gentlemen, with Israel back in the land, and the Jews speaking Hebrew in Israel. Again, that's not a fluke. That's not some freak of nature. That's Bible prophecy that is unfolded right before our very eyes. The Jews are back in the land, back in unbelief, but they are back in the land. And because they're back in the land, Bible prophecy is on course
to being fulfilled. They're back in the land. The Jews are speaking Hebrew in Israel. So that is telling you and I that the stage is set, the actors are in place, and the curtain is about to go up on the end time drama. The Bible is still relevant for today. In fact, it is more up to date than tomorrow's newspaper. The times in which we live today are catching up to the Bible and not the reverse. So what am I telling you, folks? The stage is set. The actors are in place. The curtain is about to go up on the end time drama. We know the next prophetic event on God's timetable is the rapture
of the church. The Lord Jesus will shout. The archangel will shout. The dead in Christ will rise first. We who are alive and remain, caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words. The rapture could happen even today. So don't forget, as I bring this broadcast to a close, visit my website, todayinbibleprophecy.org. Sign up for our newsletters while you are there. Navigate around the website, check out all the videos that we have on there. Sign up for the newsletters. Go to our bookstore, order the prayer shawl, the talit that we were talking about. Order my book, The Kingdom, Now or Future. You'll have an opportunity to do that when you visit my website. You can also mail all of your orders in. If you don't use PayPal or you don't like using your debit card, your credit card online, you can always mail your check or money order. to Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries, 55 Pleasant Street, Apartment 2, Lincoln, Rhode Island, 02865. And again, while you are at the website, don't forget to participate in our final prophecy poll question for this week. So you can go there and you can check that out and you can participate in the prophecy poll question. Daniel's 70th week of prophecy talks about a period of 7 years to come upon Israel and the world. Do you believe the Antichrist, who comes from the revived Roman Empire, will confirm a treaty with Israel based on Daniel 9:27? So, go to our website, todayinbibleprophecy.org, participate in our prophecy poll question. So guys, that's all the time that we have for today. Hope that you have a wonderful weekend. We look forward to seeing you. Actually, I don't think I'm going to be on Monday because my wife and I have a doctor's appointment with our heart specialist and we need to be there. So I do not believe we will be on Monday. If we're on, it might be a little bit later, but I'm not sure yet. We will let you know. So we'll give you a heads up on that. So remember, keep looking up. Jesus is coming soon. And Shalom Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Guys, have a great weekend. Great Lord's Day this upcoming Sunday. And we will talk to you soon. God bless you all.